You have no
All right.
snacks? Just look in the
The
mirror.
save the save worked, right? Oh, I see what you did there.
Alright, for this, I will go ahead and do most of the narration. There's a lot of dialogue this time around, so I'll have you do the
Really?
dialogue. Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, ready?
Mm-hmm.
The melody stirred an emotion like nostalgia within them. Something once familiar, but now lost to this world. They believed, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that it would play for all eternity. From opening stanza to final coda, it was a mysterious siren song, merry yet longing, that heralded a return from dreams to reality. The night shook. A song was spun. Now their lost paradise was unearthed. Abandoned dreams, forsaken idols. They all responded to the cry of the blue cat. The name of that bell was Diddle Diddle, Banquet of the Night. All fables made possible, all marvels made real, by the magecraft of Alice Kuwonji, more magical than magic itself.
Okay, so I've always wondered, do you ever hear Alice in your head with an English accent?
I had it until now. I can see that now. Let's go for it.
Excellent. How selfish of you. Is that something you can really decide on your own, Aoko?
It fits so well, Jesus. Alice sat perched atop the clock tower like a black bird of ill omen. She smoothed the ruffles of her skirt as if she were preening.
Alice.
There was tension in Aoko's voice as she lifted her head. The calm atmosphere from a moment prior had long since been shooed away from Alice's gaze. I'll do Sojiro.
Okay.
That girl. I've seen her somewhere before. Sojiro searched his hazy memory. He could not clearly make out her face at this distance, but he was sure he had seen her around the town a number of times. Where and when eluded him, however, as the tension in the air kept him from connecting all the dots.
Well, isn't this a turn of events? I didn't know you cared so much, Alice. I thought you were going to leave tonight to me.
Aoko readied her guard and took a half step forward, unconsciously. From an objective standpoint, it almost looked as though she were protecting the figure beside her.
Almost.
Alice's silence grew even heavier. Her eyes, fixed on the ground below her, were devoid of emotion. And an indescribable sense of dread and pressure laid claim over the plaza. A bell? If he strained his ears, he could make out the faint ringing of a bell echoing in the distance. The rippling sound wave seemed, unbelievably, to be emanating from under the ground. Hey, Aozaki, that girl, she's...
Quiet!
Sojiro stepped back, trying to stay out of the way. It was as though he had been told to go to hell, for the crime of asking if the girl was Aoko's friend.
I wouldn't go as far as to say I cared. I simply had a feeling something might be wrong and came to check. It's not as though I had any doubts regarding your ability to handle the job. Much appreciated. It would have been nice if you had thought to come check just a bit earlier, though. As you can see, things seem to have worked themselves out. It's late, so don't let me keep you, Alice, since you have no doubts about my ability, right?
Their eyes locked on one another. Alice's stare was uncomfortably cold. Aoko's was bold, daring Alice to air her complaints.
I think I've changed my mind. I'm here now, so why don't the two of us go home? That's more your style anyway, Aoko. You can tell me all about your adventures with the puppet on the way. Ha! What's that supposed to mean? Go home, Alice. Shut yourself in your room and make some more of your worthless birds.
A disappointed sigh escaped Alice's delicate lips. It seemed that the black-clad girl was more astonished than angry.
Aoko, I hate to say this, but seriously?
Quietly, Alice questioned her roommate of nearly 2 years.
You surprise me. Did you not say we would protect our secret together? Are you still having trouble letting go of the other side? Or has compassion taken hold of you? Not at all. This isn't compassion. I just feel like doing it this way. No plan survives contact with the enemy, you know that. The same goes for my mood. Besides, who goes out of her way to keep a promise she made forever ago? A little old-fashioned, if you ask me.
The proverbial knives were out now. No quarter was given, nor taken. Sadly, their partnership was one of convenience, and had not reached the level of mutual understanding. Their version of friendship was both delicate and unique. When a conflict of opinion arose, each would refuse to budge until the other crumbled. Neither was concerned with the other's plight, and at least for now, that was how they liked it.
You know, I've come to accept stupid outbursts like that from you.
Once again, she let out a sigh, even larger than the one before.
Why don't we save this argument for later? I can make him disappear on my own.
Finally, she struck straight to the point. As if making to move a chess piece, Alice lifted her slender finger. Huh? Even this simple action seemed mysterious to Sojiro, the same boy who had been hunted by his classmate Aoko Aozaki, and borne witness to an automaton. Aoko's violence and an animated doll. Though perhaps far beyond the realm of logic, both these things were derived from reality. As surprised he had been, there was no need to think of them as total mysteries. However, when the thing appeared out of thin air from a seemingly unrelated gesture, he had no word for it besides mysterious. Sojiro stood motionless, captivated by this stage performer's magic trick, as the girl's single-finger magecraft turned into an attack directed at him. A blue light flew from the side to repel it, annihilating it without a trace.
Oh crap!
Aoko immediately regretted her reflexive shot.
What are you doing? You're not satisfied with breaking just our promise, so you must break the rules as well.
The already chilled midwinter air plunged below freezing. Alice looked calm and collected from the outside, but in reality, she was sometimes even more hot-blooded than Aoko. This was especially true when it concerned her familiars. Accidentally breaking one would often result in a week of silent treatment. But against someone who maliciously destroyed her things, Alice was prone to retaliate without warning.
Whoops. I figured I'd do that someday, but I couldn't have picked a worse time.
Aoko sighed at herself. Even she was exasperated by her own stupidity, yet she couldn't help but feel a pang of relief. She did not intend to make any excuses, and she had no regrets. If she had broken the rules, then so had Alice.
Aoko. How do I put it?
If anything, this took a load off her mind. After all, now there was no going back. Aoko never intended to break her own rules. If there was anything for Aoko to regret, it was putting too little power into her shot.
I have a problem with this guy dying tonight. So can we reschedule the execution? What difference does a day make?
To Aoko, it was simply natural to take on a pro bono case in defense of an innocent suspect.
Is this personal? So what if it is? You know that paying back my debts is pretty important to me. More important than our agreement? Sure, depending on the time and place.
Sojiro's human rights had not yet entered the argument. The girls were busy pouring oil on each other's flames.
Jesus.
The girl clad in black was the first to move, or rather, to erupt.
I see. I understand how you feel, Aoko. But I am going to have to kill him here. I believe that you would let him live. Shall I take it to mean that you're ready to fight me for it? You know damn well I'd rather not.
Aoko bit back the retort. She was very familiar with Alice's magecraft, and knew painfully well how many mystics were hidden in Alice's tiny body. The odds of victory were essentially non-existent, and once the first shot had been fired, Alice Kuonji was without mercy. Whether facing a roommate or a friend, a most beloved family member or a stranger, once Alice began to fight as a witch, she became a heartless, unflappable monster. Aoko advanced another half step forward, as if to encourage herself. It was too late to back down now. The situation was no longer a trivial quarrel over a witness. The bedrock of their so-called friendship had nothing to do with their individual abilities, and everything to do with being equals in will. That is why, in order to stay true to herself, Aoko had no room for compromise or deception.
Of course. I'm going to make sure this idiot lives even if it means killing you. And besides...
Her magic circuits howled as they kicked into gear. Her body, which had been mostly dormant during the battle with the puppet, ignited, preparing to demonstrate its true worth.
We were going to end up killing each other in the end anyway!
Her courage overpowered any fear she had for her opponent. Tuning her body, her magic circuits, to become like the barrel of a gun, Aoko fired a magic bullet. It was an exceedingly basic magecraft formula. There was no nature interference, no creating of wind, parting of water, nor hastening of decay. It was simply the process of converting the imaginary activity known as magical energy into something real, before releasing it as heat. Thus, Aoko's destructive power was equal to her supply of magical energy. The magic bullets she had been using against Sojiro were among the most basic single-action magecraft that did not require an incantation. At her present ability, Aoko's main mode of attack, her magic bullet, could be fired at 3 levels of power. These were at the 2nd level. This required a double-action magecraft, casting through activation of her crest combined with a simplified incantation. However, without blinking, Alice dispersed the shot that Aoko had mustered all of her spirit to fire. Aoko tutted in frustration. A swift sneak attack that used a simplified incantation would not be enough to break Alice's guard.
As stiff as ever, I see. Don't you think that shell is making you complacent?
Aoko provoked Alice in order to disguise her own lack of composure. Somehow, Alice seemed delighted by Aoko's bravado.
I suppose this is what they call fighting words. I've never fought to the death for such a trivial reason. I'm really shocked. Humans are such conceited creatures.
Alice giggled. Smiling with heartfelt amazement, Alice gestured her left hand toward the earth. Stab, stab, stab. Countless utensils shot out from underneath the cobblestones paving the plaza.
Shizuki, get back!
Huh? She grabbed his hand as she shouted, jumping backward before he even had a chance to respond. As if they had wills of their own, the utensils that had suddenly appeared from the ground gave chase. As the barrier of spears grew around them, Aoko and Sojiro put some distance between themselves and the clock tower.
That's all you've got?
Just under 30 feet stood between them and Alice. The lethal weapons that had crumbled the stone beneath them fell short of what Aoko had anticipated. They now encircled the clock tower, making the scene look more like the burning of a witch at the stake.
Isn't this backwards? You'd expect the spears to try and stop us from escaping.
The path behind them was safe. If they wanted, they could make a break for the main gate and escape.
Are you sure about this, Alice? Sorry, but if you're going to let me escape, I'm not going to pass the chance up.
If she could just make it back to town, it would be Aoko's win. All she wanted to do was let Sojiro get away for the night, so if she could get him back to the city, it would be, for the most part, mission accomplished. Or so she had thought. Without even offering a glance at her targets below, Alice carefully and lovingly pulled a bottle from her pocket.
A green flask? Wait, that's... Damn it, fire!
Her shot was deflected with ease. Gone was Aoko's earlier bravado. It was only natural. Aoko had indeed grown as a mage. Over the last 2 years of study, her studies had progressed well, and she'd more or less gotten a grasp of her roommate's tendencies and abilities. Ooh. This had made her conceited enough to believe that, under favorable circumstances, she'd be able to show Alice a thing or two in a fight.
Uh-oh.
Alice uncorked the magical bottle. A gentle breeze caressed her cheek. diddle diddle fled as the new player stepped onto the stage. But from where would it enter? The sound of footsteps, a nostalgic parade approached.
No way!
What emerged was a miracle that Aoko Awazaki, an apprentice mage, had never witnessed. The dead came to life. The inanimate awakened. The woods were enveloped by the mists. Fire-breathing lizards lurked in the swamps. Puppets made merry at midnight. Alice's Kuonji's slender figures had transfigured the entirety of the park, as if gently stroking the back of an elderly cat.
Very well. Let us play pretend, Aoko.
For one night, the wasteland of dashed hopes and dreams was restored to its former glory. It was an immortal monster, ready to devour reality. A dark fairy tale that, once unleashed, would never let its prey escape.
Run if you dare. I don't believe you'll get far, but if you can survive the night, I'll concede this round to you.
Her declaration marked the start of a desperate battle. The witch in black laughed at her friend. Her musical mirth filled with affection, sadness, and innocent delight. Faded glory returned to Kitsyland. The neon glow of innumerable lights illuminated the night. Speakers filled the air with the sound of vinyl music. Merry-go-rounds, small and large, whirled round and round. All in all, it made for a mind-bending spectacle. It was certainly possible to power the facilities by transmuting magical energy into electricity via alchemy. That said, simply supplying the park with electricity would not have brought back to life that which was broken. The young woman did this not by mixing chemicals into a compound, but by melting down divine providence into a witch's brew.
This is bad. I've seen her ploys, and this one is something completely new. Wait, who's
still
saying?
her.
Oh, okay. Connecting.
Stifling her anxiety, Aoko fired up the crest on her right arm. If magic circuits were a mage's engine, then their crest was software that assisted their magecraft. For the fledgling mage Aoko, this was her trump card. All she had to do was supply magical energy to her crest-based formula. It may not have been the strongest magecraft, but it was hers. Proof that she was the successor of the Awazaki lineage.
Execute double layer. Direct current to crest.
The pattern of her crest shifted to execute the formula, which then connected to her magic circuits. The process resembled trains changing rails, a puzzle involving dozens of circuits. She constructed it as swiftly as possible, without sacrificing the quality of its construction. Instant magecraft cast without incantation would not be enough to reach Alice Kuonji. Aoko had gauged the strength of Alice's defense with her initial shots. She would dial up the power to 5 times the next time, driving 20 tons of force into her target. Alice had the protection of the thick, hanging fog and the dense barrier around her. However, this attack would be more than enough to pierce through both. If Aoko struck home, it could cave in Alice's chest and end the fight. At worst, it would at least knock Alice back from the position atop the clock tower. Hey, I have a question. As always, there was one guy who spoiled the deadly tension, pulling Aoko out of killer mode. Sojiro had been looking back and forth between Aoko and Alice in confusion. What's going on now? He said it like
that appropriately positioned little sweat drop icon.
Mm-hmm. He said it like he might ask for directions to the train station. Normally, she would have lashed out in response, but his deadly serious tone shocked rather than angered her.
Unbelievable. Is this my life now?
Aoko swallowed back a sigh and returned her focus to activating her crest.
Negotiations have broken down. I pissed her off a bit too much. From her perspective, this is a good chance to kill me off, along with the entire theme park, I guess.
Huh? Sojiro tilted his head, as if begging for a simpler explanation.
She's really got it in for me. I can't even imagine what sort of death she has in store if she catches me. What I'm saying is, neither of us are getting out of this alive unless we do something about her.
So, you're saying I got dragged into your quarrel?
Pretty much!
As Sojiro protested in a tone wholly inappropriate to the situation, Aoko let another blast rip from her right arm. She was not aiming at Sojiro, though. A little earlier in the day, and Aoko would have been happy to do exactly that. But now, her attention was focused on the girl in black atop the clock tower. Again, proof that horses are evil.
Oh no. Huh?
Aoko's mind struggled to catch up to her astonishment. She had fired the strongest, fastest magic bullet she had the ability to conjure, and Alice blocked it. That much was to be expected. When Alice set her mind to defending herself, such an attack was child's play. But what just happened? Something Aoko had never seen before leapt to Alice's defense. I think I'm hearing feedback from your mic.
What? Grommet.
Just a little bit of static.
Okay, try again.
I'll let you know if I hear it.
Okay.
But so far it seems good. Normal creatures could not form like a spontaneous cloud of fog and then dissipate just as quickly into the night sky.
What?
Impossible things moved in impossible ways. Alice was not even supplying them with any power source. Those things never needed power in the first place. Those broken and discarded things did not follow the rules of mankind. This was an invasion of fairy tales. Oh, Jesus Christ, I forgot about that one.
Ugh.
Compared to them, the automaton looked merciful. Autonomous puppets were products of magecraft, but even then, they behaved as puppets should. These newly animated things, however, were nothing of the sort. Empty vessels became living creatures. Dummies warped into malformed beings. There was a fog so dense with magical energy it visibly spread to all corners of the park, bringing with it a monstrous welcoming party that easily numbered over 1,000. Spurred on by the shuddering sensation running down her spine, Awako fired a barrage of single-action magic bullets. Her impulsive attack scattered futilely. Yeah, that would be my response too. The Knights of Merry-Go-Round soared into the sky. Green, fire-breathing lizards flocked. The bakeries opened their doors once again, and human-sized loaves of fresh bread marched from their ovens as platoons of newly baked soldiers.
That's a creepy image.
Awazaki, behind you! Awako and Sojiro were completely surrounded. The Ferris wheel creaked as it gently turned. A rickety train car raced about the roller coaster tracks with Kitsy, tears streaming down its face aboard. It was a grossly twisted fantasy. The girl in black reigned over the insanity-fueled park.
Oh, now we're screwed.
Aoko was transfixed by the scene unfolding around her. Then, she realized what was happening.
Oh, I know what this is.
Alice had once told her of Meinster's familiars. Among them were 3 of particular notoriety, one of which she recalled being capable of something similar to this. And it was called
Ploy Kickshaw. Flat Snark.
Alright, a little bit of history lesson. Well, not so much history as much as it is literature.
Context?
So, a lot of Alice's Magecraft is surrounded by fantasy, as you can tell from here.
Hi, Rin!
So, of particular, she and her mother always loved all of Lewis Carroll's stories.
Oh.
And this one is from The Hunting of the Snark.
Oh.
The Hunting of the Snark is, I think, a poem of 8 stanzas or so. I could be mistaken on how I'm regurgitating this information, but essentially it was just a bunch of like random nonsense that Lewis Carroll wrote. And the whole purpose was that they were supposed to be hunting a snark. And the snark, they weren't exactly too sure of what it was. And in the end, they found that it was a Boojum, which is supposedly like a shape-shifting monster.
Huh.
There's really not much else to it aside from that. But that is the origin of this ploy. They never called it Flat Snark, so I don't know why they're calling it Flat Snark here, but, you know, I mean, that's not so verse for you. They just really twist known stories and just make it completely their own.
Why not?
But yes, that is the Flat Snark. Will it tell you exactly what it actually is? No, not at all. Like I said, this is Type Moon. You're never going to guess. Just like how Arthur Pendragon is a girl.
Yes. Yes, she is. And Gilgamesh is kind of an a-hole.
He kind of was already in the original myth. That was before he met what is it? Enkidu, which is supposed to be like half bull and half human-ish. Not really like a centaur, but or not really a minotaur either, I think. But yeah. There's a lot of inconsistencies, but again, as we all know, Type Moon.
Type Moon, everyone.
But yes, hi Eryn. Nice to have you here.
Also, hi, Nightmare.
And yeah, welcome to everyone that's actually coming in. I'm glad that you guys are here, and hopefully you guys are enjoying this. The heck? Let me just go ahead and ping the other two. Let's see if they
Oh.
this is what I do.
Oh boy. Oh god. Bing bong.
Okay. Alright, we'll go ahead and continue. Seriously, Aozaki, behind you! Oh, Jesus.
Ugh.
Struck by Aoko's bullets, the creatures exploded into splinters. It was clear Aoko's shots were becoming more powerful, but it was also the case that these beings were less robust than your average automaton.
Shizuki, this way.
Aoko turned away from the clock tower, grabbed his hand, and began to run. Wait, Aozaki!
Sorry, no time. We're running.
Running? To where?
It doesn't matter anywhere.
She shouted as though trying to persuade herself as she valiantly cleared a path. Aoko's magic bullets flew like a scream, blowing away the creatures that blocked or simply gathered around their path. She made a hole for them to escape through. So.
Oh, jeez. I think they're heading that way.
No way to tell, huh?
Nope. Couldn't tell ya.
So, shall we switch it up now?
Yeah, do you want me to do some narrating?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Magical bullets exploded like blue fireworks. Aoko and Sojiro ran down the bumpy brick road. Their bond, forged in the heat of battle, went far beyond mutual convenience. They headed for the park's exit at full speed without exchanging a word or a look. The weirdness only extended as far as the park border. So, they would be safe as long as they made it outside. But speaking in pure numbers, the difference in strength was 2 versus an army. Or rather, 1 versus an army. Sojiro was hardly useful in this situation, and manpower wasn't really the issue here, since they were facing puppets. I just baked bread today. This is so creepy.
I'll go ahead and voice the characters for now, since you'll be doing a lot of narration. You okay? Those were some giant pinchers back there.
Aoko shouted as she blasted away the monsters that stood in their path. There was no time to stop for breath, or even to look back.
Since I voiced Sojiro, how about you voice this airhead?
Yeah, just barely.
As Sojiro pursued, his voice too had naturally become shrill. Oh, perfect!
It was, wow, that's very shrill.
Shh, it's fine.
5 minutes earlier. They had broken out of the siege at the plaza surprisingly quickly. It seemed that the residents' awakening differed case by case, with larger creatures taking additional time. Making breadcrumbs for tempura later.
Totally. We're lucky they're not the morning type.
Aoko joked as she mowed down the small fry that popped up. But then,
Huh?
without warning, something outrageous extended its way down from above them.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What is this?
It was the claws of the 60-foot lobster adorning the roof of a seafood
Restaurant? Are you kidding me?
Its pincers were like a guillotine. As Aoko and Sojiro cut across the front of the restaurant, the Red King pressed in at tremendous speed, keen on splitting them each in 2.
Shizuki, hard about. This way's no good.
The gate was just on the other side of the restaurant, but they had to take the long way around in order to lose the giant lobster snapping at their heels. Waiting along their detour had been a horde of monsters, too many to count. Yeah, just barely. Sojiro called out in response, recalling just how narrowly he had avoided his head being severed clean from his body. In front of us! What the heck are those? Are they freshly baked?
It looks like it. In other words, they're the cannon fodder.
Aoko halted her sprint and set her crest into full operation.
Range 7, 6, 5 yards. At this distance, Snap will take him down.
Sliding along the brick path, she brandished her right arm. She loosed a shower of magic bullets. Snap was a single-action spell that favored rate of fire over power, and it mowed down the monsters with satisfying pops. I'm trying to imagine what that sounds like when you're mowing down people made out of bread.
Bread, yeah.
Does it sound like popcorn? Ozaki! More over there!
It would be satisfying to hear popcorn as you mow them down.
Yeah, probably. Mm-hmm.
Roger that!
Jesus! Blue explosions bloomed along the lamplit promenade. Aoko's curtain of fire fanned out. It was a marvelous Starmine fireworks show. The toy bread men turned to charcoal.
We can do this. They've got us overpowered in numbers, but at this rate, we'll be able to get out of here. Shizuki, how's it looking over there?
Looks clear to me. We should be able to approach the exit from the east. With a magical barrage that would leave an average spellcaster blue in the face, the novice mage broke through the siege. Meanwhile, a single bird keenly watched everything unfold.
We'll continue on. Or maybe... Nah, since it'll be her voicing, I definitely want you to keep voicing Alice, because there's no way I could give it justice.
Sure.
Chirp! Cheep, 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 chirp!
Chirp, chirp.
The moment the bluebird descended into its master's field of vision, it made its high-pitched call. The girl listened expressionlessly to the report.
No matter. Everything is going as expected. Even if she only knows how to shoot and destroy, the way Aoko uses magical energy is extraordinary. Hastily formed familiars are no match for her.
The robin flapped its wing as it tweeted in response. Perhaps it was criticizing Alice for complimenting Aoko. Or perhaps it was jealous of Aoko for being praised by Alice. Alice could barely make sense of his chirping rant. Aoko Aozaki was a novice mage. Until just 2 years ago, she had grown up with no background in magecraft. Compared to Alice, who was raised as a witch from birth, Aoko possessed far less talent and experience. There was simply no comparison to be made in a contest of skills of magecraft. 10 times out of 10, Alice would be declared the victor. However, that narrative changed when it came to a battle for life or death. Alice Kuwonji was not the type of mage suited to combat, while Aoko Aozaki, on the other hand, was built for it. In a contest that pitted magical energy against magical energy, even Alice would concede that Aoko had the upper hand. Aoko's manipulation of magical energy was extraordinary. The scale of her magic circuits was smaller than that of Alice, but their rotational speed, durability, and output quality, not to mention efficiency, were otherworldly. That was Aoko Aozaki's hallmark. Though she had many failings when handling sophisticated formulae, in just 2 years of practice, Aoko has surpassed Alice in simpler formulae that merely required an energy input. She also had a genius's instincts and adaptability, Though Aoko was not particularly proficient at executing magecraft, she was terrifyingly fast. If she had been born outside the Awazaki clan, she would have doubtless risen to fame as a competitive sharpshooter.
What a pity.
In a straight shootout, Alice did not stand a chance. Alice Kuonji had never bothered to learn primitive magecraft like magic bullets in the first place. She was the classic puppeteer. Her familia served her as her arms and legs to carry out all the particulars of a battle.
Clock's ticking, Aoko. I'm happy to lend you all the ammunition you need. But after an hour, those bullets will be worthless.
Chirping as if in agreement, the robin took flight. It had been nearly 10 minutes since Alice had made the amusement park into her dominion. To what would the green fog give birth next? Aoko and Sojiro, still running about, would soon come to understand the gravity of their situation. Okay, back to you with the narration.
Okay. Damn, man.
Shizuki, is this the way out?
Yeah, the exit's just around that store! Running non-stop at full speed had them at their limits. Their breath ragged, the duo rounded a corner at breakneck pace. Amusement park though it was, this was still the infamous Kitsyland. It would have taken a high school student 20 minutes to sprint the entire circumference of the park. And though they were now intimately familiar with the park's geography... Is that Cinderella's pumpkin?
Probably.
It was changing beyond recognition.
Hey, Kanye.
Chat.
Yol.
You sound like you just woke up.
Yeah,
No,
you doing
I'm
okay?
I'm fine. that was me sneaking in.
All right. Whenever Sojiro is speaking, I'll have you voice him. I don't remember him talking much in this section, but we'll work with it. Anyway, good to have you.
Yeah.
The transformation was not limited to the park's residents either.
Oh, perfect. Kanye?
Awazaki?
What?
I hate to ask, but is it just me, or is the park getting bigger?
It was. Their problem wasn't as mundane as mistaking the location of the exits nor the strange terrain. No, the park was warping and twisting in upon itself. Even as they ran, its structure was expanding and growing like that of a living creature. Soon the pair noticed that the mob encircling them had grown even stronger. Entrusting her back to Sojiro, Aoko summoned all of her effort just to keep from whining. No one would blame Sojiro for cowering in shock. But for Aoko to do the same? She bore responsibility for causing and then dragging him into this mess. She could not afford to succumb to panic.
Pull yourself together, Aoko. The park has to end somewhere. It may be far, but the fence is right there. Even Flasnark has limits. Getting to the exit is the right choice, I think. But from here, it looks the better part of a mile away.
Up until now, they had been too concerned with simply running. Their breathing had become labored. If they had to run another mile without rest, they'd end up collapsing along the way.
Awazaki? How are you holding up? Physically, I mean.
What?
The whisper from behind pulled Aoko back to reality.
I'm fine, but I need to catch my breath.
Good idea. We'll never make it outside if we don't rest.
You know, I never would have thought you'd be okay with making a run for it.
She let slip a giggle. Far from debilitated by panic, her comrade-in-arms had been analyzing the situation and forming an escape plan.
Why don't we hole up in one of those buildings for a while?
I don't like it, but it's our best option right now.
The breadmen had them completely surrounded. Perhaps this might have been a problem for an average person, but for Aoko, breaking through their formation to get to the building would be a cinch. The issue was...
Which store to pick?
She considered the characteristics of the transforming park. What would pose a danger, and what was safe? The most important factor was not the strength or the complexity of the building.
Keep it simple, stupid. Shizuki, this way!
After routing the monsters, Aoko hopped behind the counter, soon followed by Sojiro.
Get behind the counter!
Like she was in a Western shootout, Aoko squared off against the monsters using the counter as cover.
She's just like a Gatling gun.
Bingo! Nothing in here can get snarkified.
After assessing the current state of the enemy, Aoko sat down under the counter.
God, the transitions are so smooth in this game.
What are they doing?
They're stamping their feet in frustration because they're angry that they can't get in.
Aoko gave the perplexed Sojiro a grin and took a moment to catch her breath. She heaved a heavy sigh of relief and fatigue.
We'll take 5 from here. The restaurant is the blandest place in the park, which makes it their Achilles heel. The registers and utensils are all modern, and there are no mascot characters. It's just a bit too civilized for Snark to mess with.
Snark?
That's their name, though Alice is the one who came up with it, I think. It doesn't really sound like her, but whatever. That's what they're called.
Perhaps now at ease from knowing they were safe, Sojiro seemed enthralled in her explanation. Aoko could not help but chuckle as Sojiro nodded sagely. It was certain that he had no idea what she was talking about. Normally, this would have irritated her, but this time she was grateful for the warmth of his strange sobriety.
It's good that you seem better, Haozaki.
Mistaking her smile for composure, Sojiro broke into a smile himself. It was just another link in a chain of misunderstandings, but there was no need to redress it.
Oh, you can tell? Yeah, my magic bullets are getting more powerful.
Well, you did chase me all around that house of mirrors while firing those at me. Fire those things at me, so I guess I've become really familiar with them. For better or for worse. Are you sure you're okay, though? I remember you mentioning that you had a limited number of shots. You fired at least 20 or 30 so far, right?
Aw, he's counting shots.
You know, every now and then you...
Her opinion of him improved, just a little bit.
Never mind. My bullets' increase in power is a simple matter of the density of their magical energy. You've seen that fog around the park from a bit ago, right? It's all just magical energy. Think of it as fuel for my bullets.
Magical energy was divided into two broad categories. First was odd, produced inside a mage's body. Second was mana, which filled the atmosphere. At the moment, the amusement park had turned into a fairy tale land, overflowing with mana. Although it meant nothing to the average person, to a mage it was a paradise where spells could be cast as much as one pleased.
So that means you don't have to worry about how much magic, whatever, you have left then. All we need to worry about are those injuries and stamina.
Well, as far as our own lives are concerned, yeah.
In this economy? Sojiro breathed a sigh of relief. From Sojiro's perspective, more so than the monsters she mowed down, Aoko was the biggest bully on the playground. He had been concerned about what would happen should her magical energy be exhausted, but luckily for him, she was far from surrendering her crown.
It's nice that you trust me and all, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Those minions out there are just walking garbage. If Alice summons any other fairy tale monsters, let alone the actual Snark making an appearance, there's nothing I'll be able to do.
Often other fairy tale monsters? You mean there are others apart from that thing that changed the park?
Yes, they're called ploy kickshaws, aberrations that even we mages can't stand to look at. They're nonsense, lost to time, used to revive impossible fantasies.
Uh-huh.
Sojiro's expression seemed to be calling her out on the hypocrisy.
Hey, most of us have modern standards, you know? Obviously, there are things we can't do, and we're no match for modern weapons. The 20th century, well, a bunch of wars helped weapons technology catch up to us. But that girl is a different beast altogether. Mankind's evolution can't hold a flame to her power. Take those breadmen, for instance. Something like a machine gun would have no effect on them, probably because guns make no sense to them.
Aoko casually gestured outside, past the counter.
Alice's familiars are mystics needed from fantasies. They're all impossible in the first place, so they don't play nice with the laws of physics. That should have come as a surprise, since fantasy and reality can't exist together.
I see. So they're literally walking loaves of bread?
Sojiro seemed to have ignored the majority of Aoko's explanation and only reacted to the part that caught his curiosity.
To get back on topic, modern arms don't stand a chance against those things. Even rockets would be useless. They aren't part of the same order or shared consciousness as us. To deploy kickshaws, to the fairy tale monsters, anything that doesn't exist in their world, anything they don't understand, just integrates before it can even touch them. Only something equally nonsense can touch them, like magical energy infused with the same level of mystics. They exist wholly in their own conceptual space or cosmos. In short, they're protected by a special rule known as folklore defense, meaning that neither pure force nor strong magecraft have much effect. They can't be taken down without exploiting weaknesses found in their original stories. Are you familiar with the Greek myth of Achilles? It's a good straightforward example.
Sojiro shook his head.
It's like she forgot who she's talking to.
Yeah. Remember, this boy grew up on a mountain.
Yeah. Of course you aren't. If we get out of this alive, have Toby Mario tell you about it. It's a cliche, but it's a good story.
Sojiro was feeling pretty lost, but he did his best to grasp the situation. He thought that ploy kickshaws were scary enough to chase Aoko and that puppet from before out of the house barefoot. Certainly, the scene before them was the stuff of nightmares. Oh
I
my
agree.
God, look at that horse. Ah.
Right?
But Sojiro had a different way of thinking.
I think you're more scared than me, Haosaki.
Do you want to die?
Sojiro waved in protest, silently pointing out that she had made his case for him.
Listen to me. The things surrounding us now are little more than fodder. As far as Alice is concerned, the breadman, the lobster, the meat mincer at the sausage palace or place. They're all worth even less than my magic bullets are to me. Got it? The movie mascots and all the rest are a sideshow. They're nothing more than the breath of the monster she unleashed.
These things are just a breath?
Yeah, crazy, I know. But that's what we're dealing with right now. Just one of those fairy tale monsters is enough to keep us busy. So, if Alice decides to add another, we might as well give up.
Add another? Isn't there some sort of limit?
If she decides not to be stingy, she has a few more up her sleeve. Though, well, there are conditions to bringing them out. Like one monster that won't wake up if there's no river nearby. The park has fountains, sure, but no river, right? Her familiars are bound by their underlying stories.
Also, I will have to get going.
You have to get going?
I thought I had more time, but I have to get going somewhere.
Okay.
Okay, bye. Have a
Okay.
good night.
See you, man.
Have a good night, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Alright, it's back to Sojiro duty for you, Nancy.
By fairy tale, you mean like the one about a bowl of soba noodles?
Let me tell you, it's a small mercy there's no river here. Otherwise, something way better at squishing us would have appeared by now.
Aoko continued, completely ignoring Sojiro.
Anyway, as I was saying, the foundation of Alice's magecraft is Mother Goose.
Oh.
Right, you wouldn't know that either. Mother Goose was an author of whimsical English nursery rhymes.
That's why I thought she was English.
Yep. To be honest, this type of ploy kickshaw isn't at all scary. Taking them down with some form of magecraft is totally possible.
I'm afraid to ask, but what about the scary kind then?
They follow another fairy tale inspired by Mother Goose. Alice's mother was particularly fond of it, and every single one is bizarre. No mage wants to go up against one of those things. As it happens, that's exactly what brought the park back to life. I'm pretty sure it's the one that she calls Flat Snark, though I wasn't particularly paying attention, so I'm a little hazy on the details.
Sojiro swallowed the discomfort making its way up his throat. He really wanted her to explain things in a little less vaguely. But some things she had just said necessitated further investigation. Oh, here we go. Oh, wait a second, Aozaki. You mean to tell me you weren't paying attention?
Well, you know, it was a while back that she explained it all to me, and I didn't really believe anything she had to say around then. I thought that maybe she was talking up her own magecraft to a newbie, or that she wasn't taking me seriously.
In truth, if anyone hadn't taken the lesson seriously, it was Aoko. She would learn that lesson firsthand soon enough when she experienced just how real Alice's monsters were. She'd also discover how heretical the Minster witches truly were in the world of magecraft. Can you remember anything else about them?
From what I understand, it's a ploy that puts up a powerful bounded field. Alice inherited a lot of ploys, but this is one of her finest. It takes discarded and forgotten things and resurrects them like what happens in fairy tales. Supposedly, nobody's ever defeated it. Oh, and its nickname is the Untouchable.
So it's not Flat Snark or whatever it was?
That's just a nickname too. Since nobody knows what its real form is, it picked up a few names along the way. One of them is Flat Snark, and it ranks high among her other nonsense in terms of how little is known about it. have you heard of the book The Hunting of the Snark by Lewis Carroll?
No. And who is Lewis Carroll?
Okay then. Let's start from the beginning. Professor Dodgson was... he was a delusional gentleman with a peculiar disposition. Not that it matters right now. It's a waste of time to explain to some people. What's important is the work that he left behind. The Hunting of the Snark is a book about a band of adventurers who try to capture an unidentified monster known as the Snark. It's very Carol, satirical, nonsensical, and cryptic. Doesn't even really have an ending either. Though the party does ultimately find the Snark on its island after much hardship, it ends with the protagonist who found it, the baker, suddenly disappearing. It's a satire about people who run about busily trying to find something they don't understand. But when it comes to the park here, it's pretty clear who the baker is and who the Snark is, right?
Alco elected not to share this, but Flat Snark had other popular names as well. The Enigmatic Island, the Five-Dimensional Plane. These names were not given to it by Alice, but rather muttered by mages whom the Mindsters defeated. In mathematics, snark is a term used in graph theory to refer to contradictory and impossible planar graphs. A plane proven to be unable to exist in this world was given the name, apt for an ill-fated existence paradoxical in nature. The fairy tale monster ascribed this name was said to hold no form discoverable by man. Alco also declined to mention something else. Flat Snark was a fairy tale monster that could grow. It would hide somewhere in the amusement park, continuously exhaling magical energy until the park completely transformed into a fantasy land.
Well, it's not like there's any point in scaring him.
Did you say something, Aozaki?
Nope. I was just thinking Flat Snark's power is its ability to bring fairy tale worlds to life. When you think about it, the park makes for a perfect backdrop. I mean, it was originally a playground based on fairy tales anyway.
Is that still her?
Is it?
I don't know. Oh, okay, no, it did end.
Yeah.
If this had been a business district, for example, Flat Snark would have posed far less of a threat. At most, its power would be limited to projecting the shadow of a dinosaur onto a building's window panes. Oh, so that's why it's safe. Sojiro realized that something was wrong when he noticed a glutinous liquid dripping onto his back. That face! That face! He looked up to the ceiling. Their eyes met. Before he had a chance to think, Sojiro hopped up from the floor. Ozaki, get out now! Taking the initiative, he jumped out from behind the counter.
Are you mad? What do you think you're...
Trying to stop him from committing an act of suicide, she also came to her feet. Immediately, she noticed something coming to life overhead.
What the... Oh, crap! Jeez.
What just happened?
Oh my god, that was close!
The gargantuan mouth clamped shut. With no mascot to speak of, the burger joint itself began to transform into one giant monster.
Who the hell pays a giant clown on the ceiling? And shouldn't they have flexed their creative muscles somewhere else? If they like clowns that much, why didn't they put it at the entrance?
Alko aired out her grievances as she ran. There was no safe haven left. Moment by moment, the last remnants of civilization were being eroded away by fairy tales.
All right, we'll switch it back up.
Okay, let's do it. Holy what? What is this now?
Like, I know what that is, but where did it come from?
It's an amusement park. God only knows what would be in it, right?
I don't know.
The amusement park had reached the final stage of snarkification.
Snarkification!
It was not just the mascot characters that had been granted life. Like the burger joint, even the buildings had begun to transform. The roller coaster that made its way up about the park writhed and twisted like a Chinese dragon.
Dang it.
Aoko and Sojiro stared, dumbfounded by the Ferris wheel, which had grown to over 250 feet in height. Hordes of breadmen closed in on them, as if to offer tickets.
Tickets? Come get your tickets.
That's Awazaki.
Wait. Did she actually say this?
Yep.
That's hilarious. I'm telling you, the line is under control!
Mobs of trinkets, actual kickshaws, rampaged the park. Whenever a hole was punched in the envelopment, it was instantly filled. It was a battle of attrition with no end in sight. But that was a matter, of course, as there were a few fairy tales about limited resources. This is hopeless! They just keep coming!
Look for the Snark's real form. A fairy tale monster always has some vessel for its body. If we can just destroy that, we should be able to get out of here.
A body? What kind of body?
I already told you! Fairy tale monsters can't exist in reality. Anything weird or impossible you've never seen before, that's gonna be it.
Does she realize who she's talking to?
Yeah, right? Come on.
Something weird or impossible? I need an example!
Do I have to spell it out for you? Living puppets, flying go-karts.
Aoko paused her firing for a moment. After saying this out loud, she realized just how deep their grave was dug. The amusement park was a treasure trove of fairy tale-esque creatures on any given day. Who could say what was impossible amidst the newly transfigured knickknacks running around?
Damn, everything in here is weird. So it's hiding in plain sight.
Hoping that she was wrong, Aoko bit her bottom lip. Flat Snark was the type of ploy that deployed bounded fields. Seeing as it was commanding so many familiars, it would not be unusual for its main body to have little or even no defenses. Furthermore, if it was modeled from a story about it being untouchable and unidentifiable, it would be logical to assume that it would collapse in on of itself shortly after being discovered.
Which means we find it and we win. Would something so fragile really hide among its minions? They do say the best place to hide a leaf is in the woods.
Yeah! This was closer to the truth than Aoko realized. As long as there was the slightest possibility of it being hit by one of Aoko's stray bullets, it would not dare appear in front of them. Its true form was orchestrating the park from somewhere safe.
I'm sure we've seen it already. It's the subject of a book named after it. If it's not standing out on every page, it has no right to be the title character.
Kuro was putting a bet.
Yeah.
What do you think it
betting
is?
it's the Ferris wheel? I thought exactly that. We've seen so many shots of the giant Ferris wheel, like so many times by now.
Hmm.
Or like the roller coaster, or
What does everyone
like
else think?
a big ride of that nature. Mikan's thinking, but where?
Put very simply, the Ferris wheel was the safest location in the park, as well as a symbol of its past glory. Perhaps.
What if we just try to catch her instead?
Oh, I guess that was Sojiro.
Oh, I guess so.
Her eyes opened wide at the sudden suggestion. Ah, hey, Erin.
It's
Sorry about
Erin!
that.
Oh,
Yay!
well, I'm glad you're here.
Oh no, what did I miss? It sounds like something dramatic's happening.
Something dramatic is happening.
A
You're
lot
right.
has happened.
A
So-
lot
Oh,
is
no.
happening.
So Alice just turned the entire theme park into a living hell. All
boy.
things of impossible proportions are happening. There are literal breadmen trying to kill them. There are evil horse trains trying to kill them. A building turned into a giant bear and almost ate them alive.
Oh no, I'm sorry I missed all this. I honestly forgot what night it was because I stayed home from work yesterday, and normally today is my work from home day, so I'm not used to having 2 in a row.
Oh, it threw you off.
that
It's
would
thrown
do it.
off your groove.
It has.
Also, you know how some seafood restaurants have like a giant lobster out front or like a giant crab out front?
Yeah.
Well, one of those in the park just reanimated and turned into a giant killer lobster.
Delightful.
Yes, the entire park has come alive into a thing of nightmares.
So, to bring you up to speed of what it actually is, Alice released one of her ploy kickshaws, a familiar of hers, named the Flat Snark. It's a nickname.
The flat snark.
Yep,
The Flat Snark, it's a reference from something Lewis Carroll wrote.
Oh.
the hunting
It's
of the
a
snark.
Yeah, it's a story about a bunch of people running around trying to find something that they don't understand.
Oh, I
so
forgot
they-
that's where that word comes from.
Yeah, the Snark. So, her familiar is named the Snark, and she's unleashed it on the park. And the park they keep trying to leave the park, but the park keeps growing, so they can't escape.
So they have to escape the snark in the park in the dark. Gotcha.
Oh my god, you did not just! Erin!
Dang.
Erin wins. Erin wins this stream.
So,
I only show up fashionably late to deliver bangers like that.
Seriously.
and then Erin just leaves. Just explosion behind her. And then
just mic drop. I'm out.
But yeah. So they tried to. Oh, she. She actually left.
I didn't get the timing quite right there.
Close enough.
Mic drop.
So they tried to escape the park from the snark in the dark, but that's not working. So they're hoping that if they discover or find the snark, that it will end the horrors. And the snark has the ability to transform or be something. They're anticipating it to be hiding in plain sight. So Nancy and a couple other people in chat has suggested that it could possibly be the Ferris wheel. So
Yeah,
we're about to find
would.
out.
we're about to find out.
Since you're now here, Erin, would you like to take over the narration?
Sure.
All
You
right,
know I love me some narrating.
let's hear it.
His proposal was a simple one. If they could not find the snark, they just needed to take out its master, Alice. Alice had not moved at all from the clock tower. Even from here, they could make out her figure draped in moonlight.
Is that Aoko?
Yes.
That's the worst move we could make. Even if we killed her, it wouldn't stop the snark, and all of this absurdity would just boil over to outside the park. Not to mention, I can't even kill her in the first place. At best, I could only get halfway there.
A breadman, angered at the insults hurled towards its master, moved to attack and was mercilessly burned to a crisp. Ah, I thought you said redmen earlier, not breadmen. As in like devils.
Literally men made out of loaves of bread.
Yup.
Yup.
Another side point. The Snark is exhaling a bunch of magical energy, so it allows Aoko to fire a lot of magical bullets.
Yeah, basically the air is full of mana. She has unlimited ammo.
The two stood back to back, catching their breath. With no plan to speak of and no route of escape, they had reached rock bottom. Meanwhile, the oddities were forming a circle around their prey, as if they smelled blood in the water. Were they to be dragged into a bakery for the oven? Minced in the meat grinder at the butcher shop? Skewered and paraded around atop the carousel? Walk the plank of the thorny pirate ship? After 2 years of slumber, they were eager to have some fun with these fun accents and welcome their new guests.
I noticed that too.
I wasn't gonna say anything. Good immersion.
There's something I need to ask of you, Awazaki.
Will you marry me?
No.
What is it? Keep it snappy, I'm thinking here.
Okay. It's painfully clear that what these things want to do to us, but what about her? Does she enjoy this?
I doubt it. These things' hatred of humans comes from a deep-seated grudge within the park itself. Maybe even Flatsnark's personality too. Alice's familiars are one big family of freaks. Though now that you mention it...
Alka was unable to deny that there were some similarities.
Yeesh.
Good to know. So, did you come up with anything, Awazaki? How do we stop them?
Sorry to get your hopes up, but I'm all out of ideas. Oh, but I bet they'd stop if you dropped dead.
No, thank you. Let's just get out of here.
Hey, wait! Shizuki?
She blinked in surprise at the sudden turn of events. Sojiro, who had until now been meekly following her lead, had grabbed Aoko's hand and pulled her with him into a head-on charge at the swarm of bread in an attempt to break out of the encirclement.
Croutons for all.
They're about as sturdy as like the droids from episode 1. I feel like those are.
Oof. I mean, we're either making croutons or we're making breadcrumbs for like tempura battering or something. Are you out of your mind? How on earth do you figure this is what we're gonna do next?
Aoko nonetheless followed Sojiro's uncharacteristically gung-ho lead, cursing him all the while. Alone, he had no chance of breaking through the surrounding wall of enemies with brute force. Aoko regained her bearings and let fly a spray of magic bullets ahead of Sojiro. They burst through the net and ran as hard as they could. At this point, all that was left to do was what they had planned from the outset: get out of the park. But not before addressing what needed to be addressed.
Where the hell did that come from? Hadn't you already given up back at the House of Mirrors?
Aoko could not begin to comprehend Sojiro's reaction.
That was then, and this is now. Just run!
What are you talking about? Alice wants to kill you for exactly the same reasons I did. This won't play out any differently.
Though she wondered what was getting her so worked up, Aoko did not stop. She told herself that the degree of Sojiro's stupidity, charging the breadmen so recklessly, had caused her to lose her cool.
Hey, don't get the wrong idea. I'm gonna try and kill you again tomorrow. I'll really do it. So if you don't want to die, you should be trying to escape me too, got it? Yes, way to go full tsundere there.
Yeah. Then let's talk about that tomorrow. I don't really care if you kill me, but I just don't want to be killed by that girl.
Like I said, why the hell not?
It's like she's asking him why he won't date her. I don't even know what she looks like, nor have I ever spoken to her. This is exactly what I was just saying.
What?
I want to at least meet her parents first.
Yike.
It was like someone had doused water all over her blazing fury. Aoko's anger was snuffed out by the absurd simplicity of his reasoning.
Because you don't know what she looks like?
Could it be that Sojiro did not mind being killed by someone as long as he had met them? Aoko grimaced as she followed him.
Oh, Sojiro.
From her spot atop the clock tower, the girl observed the growth of her familiar. Flat Snark. A savior of the discarded. It was a vile, vulgar fairy tale monster who provided those abandoned by fate with a glimmer of hope before snatching it away. Alice had it under her control, but she was still keen to keep the Snark from expressing its bad habits. After completing a lap around the park that had now reached the size of an entire town, the Robin made its situation report.
So, they're trying to get out.
It seemed Aoko was prioritizing the safety of the boy. Even if it resulted in wasting an entire day, choosing not to capitulate on a decision was very much like her.
That's too bad. I was sure Aoko would attempt to burn down the clock tower and me with it.
The blue bird cheeped in response. Was it denying its master's portrait of Aoko? Or agreeing that it was Aoko's style to do exactly that? An outsider might interpret its interjections either way.
Does this bore you?
The robin jumped at being addressed so unexpectedly. It chirped and flapped its wings like a flustered servant, frantic to say otherwise.
It's rare for us to get along so well. Alright then. If it's a game she wants, a game she'll get. Let's liven things up a bit, shall we?
Calmly, she pulled out a small object from her pocket. It was a dark gray Easter egg, and emanating from inside it was the ticking of a clock. The robin knew it to be a ploy kickshaw with a bad attitude far exceeding Flat Snark's, known to be among the best in one-on-one situations. Ooh.
Go. I've set the extolling time for 20 minutes. Break, in that subtle way of yours.
And together with the witch's breath, the egg filled with praise disappeared. Suddenly, a strong wind swept through the park. The words, "I could not have killed them all by myself," floated through the air. It was the disappointment of something enormous that was visible to all, yet overlooked.
Do you know whose voice that should have been? The Flat Snark.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Ooh.
Aoko and Sojiro continued their dash toward the boundary separating the park from outside. The curio horde that stood in their way had reduced in number. The iron fence that separated the two from the outside world was just over 300 yards away. Fortunately, there were no particularly large buildings barring their path. If the Ferris wheel had stood in their way, that would have spelled the end, but thankfully it had yet to reach its full strength. The only things that appeared before them were weak oddities that could easily be handled by Alco's simple magecraft.
At this rate, we might just...
She would have said, make it to the fence, if only her lungs would allow it. Since Alco was utilizing the ample mana filling the park, her tank of magical energy was nearly full. Moreover, the condition of her body's circuits was steadily improving, to the extent that she would be able to unleash at least one all-out onslaught.
Huh?
Until... something unusual was hovering above her field of vision. It was locked on Sojiro, hovering 10 feet above him to one side.
Shizuki, look!
What? That thing? It's been on us for a while.
Sojiro had seemingly noticed it before Alco, hence his previous awkward glances toward the sky. In truth, it would have been stranger for him not to notice, as the thing was practically glued to him. In terms of its size, the floating object measured about 3 feet in diameter. Tiles covered its exterior, about which a multitude of spinning lights danced about.
Is that...
Go ahead.
Egg? Is it? Alco? I can't tell.
Either way, I just tripped over there being two abouts in that last sentence.
Nope, that was Sojiro's line.
Oops.
Whoops.
Someone asked, really not sure what to call it.
Good save.
An egg? If it's an egg, then that means it'll crack!
Her bullets bounced off like they were made of rubber.
Dang it.
That trait, the ability to deflect all outside interference, confirmed to Alco that this thing was undoubtedly a ploy kickshaw.
Knew it. Can't break its rules from the outside. Shizuki, don't take your eyes off it even for a second. No matter what happens, keep your eyes locked on it, even if it's just in the corner of your vision.
Okay.
Alco picked up her pace as she barked orders. The Eggman, who sat on a wall,
Oh no.
he would crack, just as the tale spoke of. Nothing anyone could do or say would cause him to fall, but the moment they stopped looking, he would tumble down and break into pieces. All the king's horses and all the king's men could put him back together again. Or so it said. It was the Mother Goose poem, Humpty Dumpty. If Sojiro was its target, then the moment he averted his gaze, it would tumble and explode.
Except for the exploding part, who knows what'll happen when it falls?
Either way, it was going to scatter something troublesome when it fell. Its oval shape, the keyhole adorning the front, and writing inscribed upon it, they all made her anxious. If it was an egg, that meant it was going to hatch at some point. Even if he continued his stare, once the time came for whatever was inside to come out, they would have even less ability to conserve their energy.
Ozaki, slow down, would you? If you use up all your energy now, you'll...
Forget about what comes next. Just focus on watching that egg!
At this critical juncture, breadmen stepped out to join the egg and block their path.
Out of the way!
The breadmen were marching forth in a grand battalion. At her level of firepower, Alco should have easily mowed them down. However...
Jeez.
These have hard crusts? Take this! These ones must have been French bread.
Yep.
Crusty French bread.
I was gonna say, with the egg, we're having a bit of a French breakfast here.
Yeah. It's Balance's favorite things.
This place is a nightmare.
If Snap failed to do the job, that meant it was time for her to put her crest to use. Draw. A formula-triggered bullet encased in a full wind jacket. If her previous shots were the equivalent of a machine gun volley, then this was her artillery shot. The hard crust bread that had absorbed her snap without a dent scattered into thousands of tiny pieces at her draw's torrent.
Croutons!
Actual croutons.
Baguette.
Whoa.
Of course, the destruction did not end with just the breadmen. What had once been a brick road was now thoroughly stripped of its pavement. The nearby stalls had been warped into twisted steel skeletons. It was a spectacle that made Sojiro question what the greater obstacle to their escape was: the wall of breadmen, or Aoko's ability to lay waste to things.
Hey! Don't wander off. It's dangerous if you don't stick close to me. Come on, get closer. We're out of strikes, you know. If they surround you, you're a goner. You should know hostages don't mean squat to me, and it's not like I can pick out my targets precisely anyway.
This made a lot of sense to Sojiro. He had not fully appreciated the part about hostages, but he got the gist of it.
So, basically, I'm in danger no matter where I stand.
You...
Offended though she was by his typical naive response, she could not help but be impressed. Sojiro was a straight arrow through and through. His eyes stayed firmly focused on the egg overhead, even amidst the chaos of the melee unfolding before him.
I don't know why I was worried. You may not be the sharpest tool, but you sure are good at following orders.
One thing, Awazaki. Am I imagining it? Or do those breadmen seem tougher than before?
No, you weren't imagining that. They're getting stronger. They must have nailed down their mass production process, so they've turned their attention to upping quality. As you've figured out already, they're just going to get tougher as we go. It seems like even those bread guys have started to develop individuality. I hate to think about it, but they might start spreading themselves with jelly or wearing other fillings and merging with one another. PB&J?
Though she was joking, her eyes were dead serious. Sojiro shuddered at the thought of the situation growing even more dire.
So, you're saying that those guys are going to become as terrifying as the puppet for the House of Mirrors soon?
Oh, you can count on that. And I'll have my hands full with bread that rare. Say, Shizuki, think you can handle yourself against one of those?
Sojiro shook his head, a look of complete aversion upon his face.
I didn't think so. So let's get moving. We can't afford to hang around here.
Aoko took a quick, deep breath, then began to sprint once again. Far in the distance, through the fog, the iron fence waited, 300 paces away. As long as nothing happened, they would make it there in one piece. Sojiro followed after Aoko, holding on to that all too convenient hope.
Alright, well, it's been 2 hours. How about we take this time to take a quick break and get some water and or whatnot?
Yay, water! But
And-
hope was something ever fleeting. In fact, it lasted not even 300 yards. The edge of the amusement park may well have been the edge of the world. God, those transitions are beautiful.
Yeah.
Right?
Look at that. They even did like a
Look at all those
parallax and
separate layers.
everything. Dozens of undulating horizons could be seen, crowding the sky like a giant cloud or a thick curtain. Or perhaps groaning lips. What?
Huh?
That was a really... Huh?
Sure.
I guess
Okay.
if you look at the fences in a certain way, you can see it. Especially like how you could either almost
guess.
look at it as an eye if you just put a line in the middle of like one of the arcs.
Yeah, I guess like off on the right-hand side of the screen, I kind of see it a bit. With the top lip up with the arc up top in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah. Still.
Why groaning lips, though?
Why
Yeah, of all
groaning
things.
lips specifically?
Yeah, I think.
Never mind that. Moving on.
Yeah, again, like I feel like this visual novel, there's like it has such grading, and then it has this.
And we don't know if that's a factor from the original line or like the translation.
Yeah, seriously.
I would love to know, just to compare how they did the lines. Anyway, it was the end of the road, the outer limit of an outrageous and fantastical realm. And yet, Alco found it to be much like the last page of an enormous picture book. Oh man, I've been stumbling a lot tonight.
That's okay, I felt like I was too.
So was I.
The sight turned her mind blank.
Go ahead and do this one, Erin, if you could.
Sure. Well, this is about as bad as it gets,
She thought. The Snark, this island of despair, had, at least, brought Alco to her knees as she stared at the swelling border.
I just had to say, the transition between Erin saying that and you continuing the narration, spot on.
We're too good.
The park, indeed, had an end. Even now, as Alco and Sojiro had expected, a fence divided the amusement park from the residential area neighboring it. It had both doubled in height and been made sturdier, another hurdle she had foreseen before even laying eyes on it. Expecting it to have been snarkified, Alco had come prepared to demolish an obstacle or two. But this construction before her went far beyond a mere wall. It was an ocean that separated the underworld from the mortal one. The iron fence was like a restless, surging sea. One or two walls could easily be toppled. Even 10 or 20 could be dealt with, one way or another. Between the power left in her body and that which filled the park, putting on a brave front was within her power. She could fully mobilize her circuits and her crest to the point of burnout in a last-ditch effort, like some reenactment of the parting of the Red Sea.
But then that would be it.
Even if a path could be opened, she would not have the energy left to walk it. And it was obvious what would become of her afterward. The residents would hardly forgive her for wreaking such havoc around their park. Like ants drawn to honey, they would swarm the helpless girl and tear her to pieces. Despondent and exhausted, she felt the faint sting of remorse. Escaping the park, looking back on how they had gotten here, Alco recognized that her choices had been her undoing. Under the golden full moon, beams of steel bent and merged like wireframe sculptures. It was only a matter of time before the amusement park itself became one colossal monster. The horde of familiars gathered in a plaza where Alice was had formed an impenetrable blockade around her. Just above the head of the boy beside her, the whispering egg, called Scratch Dumpty, continued to shuffle what appeared on its surface.
Awazaki.
Shizuki?
The boy's voice snapped Aoko out of her trance. If only for a moment. The stark reality of the situation quickly dawned on the novice mage.
The stark reality of the snark in the park in the dark.
Oh, great. Oh, no.
Man.
No! The sheer hopelessness of it all, as it ripped out and snatched away any will she had to resist.
Let's head for the gate. It's hopeless here, but we might have a chance at the entrance. That flat snark thing. You said it had its own set of rules to follow, right? Then, we need to think about the basics. The fence would have been impassable from the start, but the gate might still work as an entrance and exit.
Sojiro hadn't given in to panic. Aoko found herself honestly admiring Sojiro's ability to analyze Snark's characteristics, given the circumstances. Now calm, she steeled her resolve.
You're right. The gate is a good option. But just getting there will be a challenge. Even the weakest enemies, those loaves, are becoming hard to deal with. Plus, the best of her familiars are just going to keep gathering at the plaza and the entrance. I mean, the gate itself might be a monster, even worse than the Ferris wheel. It's designed to look like a giant kitsy.
So, you're not going to the front gate?
Nah, we have a better chance over here.
Huh?
Aoko took another glance at the undulating iron fences. It was too late to achieve their goal of making it out alive. In that case, she decided to prioritize the other promise she had made.
I'm gonna go ahead and break down the fences here. You have to escape once you see an opening. Then my job will be done.
Uh-huh.
Though her words were few, her tone told the whole story. She was telling him to escape by himself.
It's not possible. You can't destroy them by yourself, Awazaki.
If I were by myself, you'd be right. But right now, the park is actually helping me. With this much fuel, all I need to do is aim and pull the trigger. One good blast should be enough. That said, I'll only be able to do it once. So as soon as I open a hole, I need you to run like your life depends on it.
She would carve a path through this iron sea of fences, gambling on one final effort. A great incantation to launch the biggest projectile she could manage. As an outsider, Sojiro could not even begin to imagine just how much of a burden this would be for her. All he could imagine was a hazy vision of Aoko being left behind in this park. What would happen to her? Would that girl in black come to save her? Cruel as it was to imagine, he knew she would not. After Aoko had exhausted her very best in order to save him, that girl would not stay her hand. The only way Alice would let Aoko off the hook was if Aoko killed Sojiro as payment. And so,
That's
Is this-
Awazaki.
Okay. Get back about 50 feet. It'll take time to cast, but I'll make sure to finish this before the egg gets hard boiled.
it went without saying that this was the only path.
Wait, I want to know. Is there even a point in letting me go?
None. Even once you get out, there's no way you'll be able to escape Alice forever. But I'm stubborn to the very end. I said I'd protect you, so I'm damn well going to try my best to keep you alive.
Surprised by her seemingly moral stance, Sojiro saw Aoko in a new light. But of course. Sojiro realized that she was not fighting for his sake, but for the sake of her pride.
Right. I guess you did say that. But it's not like you to let me go by myself.
Oh, give me a break. Just move already.
Aoko eased off, just a bit. She recalled how an hour ago he'd gotten the better of her.
Awazaki, if you're still willing to fight, then let's do it some other way. If you can destroy that monster of offense, then let's put your power to better use.
There isn't anything else I can do. Sorry, but all I can do is destroy what I can see. Dying for some forlorn hope isn't how I wanted to go out. Don't you get it? The fact is, blowing this thing up to let you slip out is all I can manage. I can't beat Flat Snark, or anything else. It's the least I can do after...
So, you're going to run from this responsibility too.
Aoko was just about to turn her back on him when Sojiro clutched her hand. His words caused something inside of her to boil with rage. It was as though someone had set her heart on fire. The surprise that pricked open her true feelings and the disappointment she felt toward herself thawed her frozen limbs.
Why, don't get it backward! I'm the one letting you escape, not the other way around. I'll blow the whole damn park if I feel like it. Just you watch!
Okay. In that case, it'd be a waste to help me escape right now. Save that move for when you really mean it. I'll give you a hand until then.
Huh? You help me? Talk about a waste of time. Now you're really pissing me off. Just get out of here, you dimwit. What use do I have for a dunce whose special power is running himself ragged?
I may be pretty exhausted, but you're in worse shape, Awazaki. Just look at yourself. You're tired and injured.
Not to mention the injury to her back that Aoko had nearly forgotten about. Even now she couldn't ignore the pain that the automaton had inflicted on her spine. With iron will, she'd managed to push it out of her mind. Mostly.
Even without any of that magecraft stuff, I'm still in better shape than you are. I could probably even carry you all the way to the entrance if I needed to.
Don't make promises you can't keep. Just go. I'm used to this and you're not. This is your first time facing this sort of thing, right? So, it's okay.
The fact that they were a team. The fact that she would still have to kill him after all of this. None of the irony was lost on her as she said these words. It didn't matter anymore. Still, Sojiro didn't let go of her hand. He gripped it even harder. His expression was the same as ever. Aoko frowned, trying to figure out if he was upset with her.
You're right. This is my first time with this sort of thing. But I've experienced my own fair share of danger in the mountains. I've even been attacked by a deer, you know.
As a city girl, she had no idea what it meant to be attacked by a deer, but his determination was apparent enough. True. Looking back on it now, he had maintained his composure through it all. A normal person would barely be able to talk through such panic. Perhaps growing up deep in the mountains, far from civilization, had taught him how to stay calm in the face of so much.
So, trust me, just a little.
He spoke his plain, unadulterated feelings and released his hand. There was no lie in him. In fact, he was too honest, so much that she found it hard to believe him. Sojiro had no reason to go that far. As it stood, Aoko had no future. After confessing this and telling him to escape, why did this boy still offer to help a person like her?
I don't understand. Why do all this? You're going to die if you stay with me. This is it. This is your last chance. Think it through. You should be running.
I know, but I'm not going anywhere.
Sojiro answered immediately, realizing that Aoko was looking for his reason. This level of insight in Sojiro demanded a round of applause.
If I do, you'll die, Awazaki.
His words were as irrational as always.
But why? Why do it? Why go so far for me?
She was yelling out of frustration. After thinking for a moment, Sojiro replied,
It's because you're cute. Oh, I guess it's because well, I like you.
simple and to the point. His face seemed to ask why she would even question him so. There was a pause, no more than 2 seconds. His surprise attack had stopped Aoko in her tracks. Alice was not the only one who had an ace up her sleeve. That line reached deeper even than Flat Snark could ever hope to. All Aoko could respond with was an expression of pure shock. It was a simple, stubborn reason, the strongest kind on Earth.
Ugh.
Sojiro Shizuki was indeed incomprehensible to be able to work unconditionally with someone who was trying actively to kill him. But she felt as though she'd finally grasped a sliver of his true nature. Tobimaru and the others' assessment of him was correct, as vexing as it was to her to admit.
Even though I can't stand you, you sure are a dip, you know?
Did she just call him a snack?
Oh,
He laughed at her sour grumbling. At this point, he was used to her insults. Their clash of wills
90s
ended here.
slang.
Yeah, like, what does it mean to call someone a dip?
I'm only getting as in to dip out.
Or, like, calling someone a dipshit, but that's not that. Aoko's blood ran hot from her blazing heart. If he was going to make a face like that, all she could do was try to think of a way to get them both home.
Running away isn't really my thing anyway. Fine, I'll stick it out to the end. And if you're gonna stay with me, Shizuki, I'm sure we can find some way for you to help.
Though her tone had lightened, there was still hesitation in her eyes. It was only natural. Aoko had not even a clue as to how to begin to fight the snark. If only she had been just a bit more skilled, or had trained just a bit more, there might have been some way to look for it.
I'm better than this. If only I had a way to peel back its true form.
Unconsciously, she let her apprehension show. Sniveling was pointless. She would just have to figure it out by herself, but...
what? That's all we need to figure out?
Huh?
Huh?
Sorry, that's what her expression right now reads
Yep.
to me as.
Huh? It's so perfect. Aoko gave him a look, as if to ask what that was supposed to mean.
I mean, you asked me earlier to look for something weird, right?
Sojiro also made a face that suggested she should have brought it up sooner.
Wait, you know what it is?
I think so. Well, I've been wondering about it for a while, actually.
Sojiro whispered in her ear quietly so as not to be overheard. Psst, I think you're cute. Ah. It was certainly unexpected. But then again, equally obvious. After he explained the mistake, she knew right away that he was correct. What is it? At least she had an inkling of Flatsnark's original form, namely...
Oh,
Is it the giant weird thing with the face? Or is it the actual fence itself? They strategized for 10 minutes. After deliberating the Snark's true form and figuring out a plan of attack, the two exchanged nods in acceptance of their roles.
So I'm trying to think of how long this part will last. I think it'll be another 30 to 45 minutes. Will that be enough? Or would that be too long?
It would be a little long for me. I kind of want to go to bed sometime in the next 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's
Then
a
I think
teeny bit long for me.
that's why I ask. So we'll go ahead and end it here on a
Yeah, their
horrible
strategizing
cliffhanger.
of 10 minutes can be a week in real time.
Yeah.
Oh my